Hello, people of the interwebs. My name is Garrett with the Protectors in Southern California. Today's video is going to be part 2 of the functionality of commonly used weapons for self-defense and home defense. I appreciate you tuning in to today's video. Continuing with last week's video, today I'm going to go over a pump-action shotgun and an AR-15 because those are very commonly used guns. I don't have access to a semi-auto shotgun, but there's not much difference in the functionality and parts between them. So we're going to start off with the simpler one first, the pump-action shotgun. As you can see, this is open, and this is a very basic one. It's an old Remington from, I believe it's 1978. Now these are, again, very simple. That's how you pump it. To disassemble this guy, and take this screw off, and then the barrel will just come right off like that. And here is the part that would be considered the firearm, because this is the action of the gun. Now what's nice about shotguns is, as you can see, that is incredibly simple to get in there to clean it. Not a lot of moving parts. That still comes down to open up, and you can get in and clean very easily. Now, the thing that you don't hear about a lot with pump-action shotguns is they kick really hard because the gas isn't being used to cycle the action. That's what's nice about semi-autos, is it does reduce a lot of your kick and recoil that you will feel. But for the purposes of this, here's how to reassemble this guy. Put that in. Open that up, and with the screw. And just like that, this guy is ready to roll. So one of the reasons for using these is, one, every state allows you to have a shotgun. So they're easy to get. You can get really nice pump-action shotguns. Like Mossberg makes very high-quality ones, and their cheapest ones are like $230 sometimes. So very affordable. You don't have to do a whole lot to them, and they just run. Again, one of the issues for why you wouldn't want a shotgun, especially a pump-action, is if you're a smaller statured person or you're not comfortable shooting heavy recoiling guns. That is something to consider. You'll also notice that there's no rear sight post here, and there is just this little nub for your front sight post. However, these are very accurate anyway at short distances, so that's not that big of a deal. That'll cover us for shotguns. Like I said, very simple, and that's why we're starting out with them. Now we're going to go over the AR-15, which is one of the most commonly used weapons for home defense, because they are so modular. I can take this foregrip off and all this other stuff if I want. I can change out all the parts, the optics, the trigger. Everything in this is incredibly easy to come by and modular. That being said, before I show you how to disassemble this, let me show you it's clear. And again, when you rack these, just like we talked about with the handguns, pull it back, let go. Do not pull it back, and do that when you are chambering around. You will induce malfunctions in your weapon. Here we have a pivot pin in the front. Takedown pin is the rear one. See those little nubs I'm tapping? To get those out, we're going to turn the gun over so you guys can see these. They stick out a little bit right here. We're going to push, push, and pull that one out, which will let us do this if we want. But we want to go a little further than that, so we are going to pull this guy out right here, and voila, it is free. Now for convenience, I'm going to pop my sling out, useful feature, and we're going to start with the upper receiver. This part right here is not legally a firearm. The lower receiver is what is, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Every part on this right now you can have shipped to your front door. So it's nice is on this one I have set up with a Holosun green dot optic, which is a red dot, but the optic is green instead of red. That is the only difference. Personal preference, which one you prefer. Right here is my backup iron sight rear post. Right here on the front is the iron sight front post. You do need a front and rear post for your running irons. With an optic, you don't. It's personal preference if you want to have these on or just run the dot or just run the irons, not the dot. In the video coming up where I go over all this, I'll go further into detail about how these function and why you want them or don't. But just for now, I'm going to tell you why the things are here. Right here is a flashlight, which won't pick up on camera, I don't think, but it is very bright. I have a pressure pad here. I'm going to switch this up a little bit, probably ditch the foregrip here and go for a hand stop. But we'll get into that, why that is later on. Like I said, what's beautiful about these is the world is your oyster and you can customize it until your heart's content. Muzzle device, barrel, handguard, this whole thing, our sights, flashlight. All right, these are all the different parts that you need to know about your gun. Right here is the charging handle, which as you can see will come right out. This is an incredibly important part in your gun and not something you want to skimp money on to save a few bucks. I recommend getting a good one and getting an ambidextrous one. Again, later video coming out will discuss that more. This right here is what's called the bolt carrier group. This is the second most important part of your AR-15 behind the barrel. This is what cycles the gun, meaning when you shoot, this is what puts the next round into your chamber and resets your trigger. In a moment, I'll break this down and show you guys what it looks like. It's simple, it just takes a little bit of work to do. Sorry about that, I had to retrieve my tools. This is a punch. If you're gonna work on guns, you should get a punch set. They're very inexpensive. But for now, we are going to go into disassembling our bolt carrier group. If you look right here, you'll see a little pin. We're going to take our punch and insert it into this little hole. Push this pin out. You can also use a pair of pliers if you have small enough ones to get in there. Pull this little guy out. What this allows us to do is remove the firing pin. This right here, this little tip right here, is what causes your bullets, your rounds, to go off. The trigger smacks this thing, and that pushes it forward through right on this chambers. You'll see it, I don't know if you can see it, but it'll push through right there, and that's what causes the gun to fire. Once we take out the firing pin, we take our cam pin right here, turn that sideways, and that'll allow us to take it right out, which will then allow us to pull the bolt out of the gun. If you're going to do a disassembly and cleaning, this is as far down as you really need to go. You can take the extractor out, which is this little part right here, but you don't need to do that. This is our bolt carrier group. And I said these are all the little parts of it that you need to know. And again, you don't need to go in too much detail in it. To reassemble this guy, we're going to take our bolt, insert that, and rotate it. Insert it, rotate it all the way around. Make sure the big hole is in the right place. And put our cam pin back in. It's hard to see out here. Put that in, and turn it. And now you need to have your extractor on this side. Have it lined up properly or it won't work. It won't go in. We're going to take our firing pin, drop it in, going to take our bit there and pop that back in, and take my punch and just make sure it's all the way in there, and it is. Beautiful. And now my bolt carrier grip is ready to go back into the gun. So when you reinstall your bolt carrier group, you have to do this in a very specific way. You need to have it rotated all the way out like this, or it won't go in properly. So now we are going to take our upper receiver, that away, turn this upside down like this. We're going to take our charging handle, and you see these little wings down here. There's grooves cut out in the receiver that you won't be able to see on camera. You're going to line those up and drop it down so that it slides in and out like this. Now before you push it all the way in, you take your bolt carrier group with the bolt extended forward, facing this way, push it in, and it all snaps together like that. We're going to take our dust cover, which is just there to prevent dust. When you charge the gun, it will automatically come down. Whenever the gun cycles, it will come down as well. And the only other part I haven't talked about is the forward assist right here. This is for when your gun is out of battery, and the grooves you saw on the bolt carrier group are what this latches into. The only reason that we ever go over the forward assist is to tell people what it does. If your gun's having an out of battery malfunction, it's not necessarily recommended that you continue to force the bolt carrier group forward. Out of battery means that it would look something like that, where you see it's not all the way forward, and there's various things that could cause this. But you don't necessarily want to try to force it forward, because something bad might happen as well. If that happens to you and you don't know how to deal with it, just take it to a competent gunsmith and have them do it for you. Anyway, that concludes the upper receiver. And again, every part on this you can have shipped to your front door. Very nice. All right, now we're going to go into our lower receiver. This right here is what is legally considered the firearm. Most of the parts on this you can have shipped to your door. This right here is the only part of the AR-15 that is considered the firearm. All of the internal components and everything else that is attached to this, you can have shipped to your front door with no background check, which makes it very easy if your trigger breaks or part of your gun breaks or you want to upgrade. Easy to get and change them out. Back to the fully assembled one. This stupid little fin you see is for California compliance. If I were to take this fin off, or take this little piece of rubber out of the stock that prevents it from moving and attach it to this lower receiver right here, that would be a felony in the state of California. But if I have it in this configuration and attach it, it's totally fine. Makes sense. No, it doesn't. Anyway, I can take it out right now and take this off. Take that off. Not a problem. It's when I then attach this to this is when the problem happens. You see how easy this is. And if you want to change your stock out, you pull that up, take this out. And I like to use a screwdriver, which I didn't bring out here. All right, I had to go grab a screwdriver real fast. Sorry about that. I have the brain of a lizard, which is why I still live in this terrible state. So, we take off our stock, take our screwdriver to pop this little thing out. That. And that. And now you can see the 6 little holes in there. Take this screw. I don't know what happened to the other screw. It just got lost one day when I was transporting this in my bag. Absolutely no idea how it happened, but luckily this stays up with just the one. So this comes off. Now for those of you in normal states, this is what your gun will look like. Reattach this, and now it adjusts. And like I said, this is, as of right now, legal in California to have. The crime is when I attach it to this. So I won't be doing that because I'm a good boy and I don't commit crimes. On our receiver, this is the magazine well. Our pistol grip, which for us, we have to hold it like that, which makes the gun inherently less safe because that's gun safety apparently. And I have what's called a bad lever on this. For newer shooters, I don't recommend it because it can cause negligent discharges and if you use it improperly. If you're new, just don't get it. It just attaches to your bolt catch, which is this little thing right here. And you have this little knob, and that's what helps you hold your bolt back. I'll show that off in a second once I put this back to legal configurations. Right here is our trigger mechanism, our ambidextrous safety right here. And we'll take out our buffer. Please excuse the dog if you can hear that. She wants to go swimming and she's very excited about it. All right, buffer tube right here. I'll take this back off so I don't forget and commit a crime on camera. It'd be bad. Buffer tube, which is what hosts our buffer, and the buffer spring. As you can see, it is dirty because that's just how these things go. This is what the bolt carrier group goes into, causing it to depress, kind of like that. And then it allows it to chamber the next round for you to fire. I'm going to just push this back in here. It's not any real science to reassemble that. You just push it down past this little nub that's sticking out. If you want to take it out, you just push it down and push this down with a screwdriver. So we shall reassemble this. Right. I always forget to do this because I hate it and it makes me sad. Push this back in. This back in. Now, when states and people talk about banning, quote, assault weapons, which literally means nothing, the guy who coined the term back in the 80s has even said as much publicly, that that term is designed to confuse people who don't know anything about guns, and things that look like they would be machine guns are often thought to be machine guns by people who don't know any better. So, yeah. Honesty, I know. Now this, I can't put my finger around here, my thumb around here, and grip below this line right here. Hold it like that, and my stock doesn't adjust anymore. California legal again. I know I hate it too. But to reassemble this, we pull our pins out, put our receiver together, push the pins in, and voila. And it works. And as I mentioned before, you see right here, there's this little nub. So I am going to pull my charging handle back, which will pull the bolt back. And I'm going to hold this down. I don't need to, but right here is what I'm pushing down on. And that will let me lock the bolt carrier group back to the rear of the gun. This is done for a few reasons, mainly to allow you to see that the gun is clear. And if you want to take a fresh magazine with our dummy rounds, which again, as we talked about earlier, are not real, it'll allow you to put those into the gun. I showed you earlier the pistol rounds. Here is the AR-15's 5.56 round. On the left here, your right, my left, is a hollow point one. This is a regular FMJ round. As you can see, the tips are different. This one is hollow. It's designed for stopping inside of the target and not hitting anything that you don't want to shoot. When you're using a weapon for self-defense, you owe it to humanity to know how to use your weapon and to be proficient with it, practice with it, and only hit what you intend to hit. For the sake of the demonstration now, I have my fake dummy rounds, not real, will not cause any damage, in my magazine. We're going to put the magazine into the gun, make sure it's sat in there properly. You see it's still open. Now, I'm going to do this upside down. I don't necessarily recommend it. I'm going to slap that, and as you look over here now, you see that the bolt has gone forward and has put one of the dummy rounds into the chamber of the weapon. This will work similarly to the pistol, as when I pull the charging handle back, you see it ejects the round, goes flying, and comes forward. That's how semi-automatics work. So, for demonstration purposes, click, goes flying. Click, goes flying. And now as you see the magazine is empty, the charging handle doesn't reciprocate, by the way. I'm just doing that for the demonstration purposes. But you see it's locked back on an empty magazine, which now tells you that you need to reload because you have a very expensive club. The last thing I have yet to cover is right here, where my index finger is. You push this button, and that is your magazine release. It will cause the magazine to fall out of the gun. Now, I know some of you are left-handed out there, and I'm sorry the gun world doesn't love you, but I do. So, you can get these modified to be left-handed, or you can just get left-handed ones. There are companies that make them. That being said, that covers the basic operation of this weapon system, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. That concludes our video today on functionality of rifles and shotguns. Now, again, not all of them will function exactly like I've showed you, but these are the two most common ones that will be used for self-defense. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something from it. If you did, please like the video, subscribe to the channel to see more from us, and share this video with your friends. I will greatly appreciate it. I got videos coming out Saturdays at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time going forward. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.